Well, Ken, as one of the next things I usually like to get into is you've talked about some background and origin and some motivation, but there's three things that I think will help a bit for every role player and how they role play their character. And those three things get into the strengths and weaknesses that you establish for your character, the kind of general personality and description of how you would play your character, um, and then finally, advancement or growth, how you see your character moving through a story or what things might make them grow or even change their mind or things like that. So I know that was three things real quick,
Hmm.
but we can start with strengths and weaknesses if that makes it easier, or perhaps personality. But I would really appreciate if you could address if you've thought about those. If you haven't, we could work through it. But I think that those are some fine-tuned things that really improve not only the depth of the character, but will make it more fun and easier for you to role play it.
All right. Yeah. A lot of this again, and this is just kind of as we've been discussing this whole time, how I've approached creating the character is going to be coming out of that research I've done and then applying it to my specific monk. Um, so strength, I really see that this character is going to be very loyal once he gets that
Okay.
group because this is his first time leaving the monastery. He was an orphan that was then basically adopted into the monastery, and this is his first time actually going
So he
out.
probably has a background in discipline and
Hmm.
following order and things like that. And so
Yep.
I definitely can see that he would find that loyalty in a group, that expectation of consistency or discipline or things like that.
Hmm. So that loyalty is going to be a big thing, and he's going to probably, as much as they don't like it, because like I said, I am going to try to play him a little annoying. Um,
It's all right.
I,
It can make for a lot of fun.
exactly. I really like the juxtaposition of you have this ideal archetype of monk in your mind, that silent, stoic, wise, and an older man. But I'm playing a 22-year-old human who is just gonna talk and talk and talk and want to tell you about Grandmaster Kane and how he's so amazing and oh well, Grandmaster Kane did this in this situation. So I really feel that even either the group is I haven't talked to anyone in the group about this, but either the group is going to be very annoyed with him or just kind of okay and just like okay little puppy just calm down in the corner over there and I'm just going to basically attach myself to one or two of them and be like, "You're my buddy now. I'm going to tell you everything about Grandmaster Kane." So I'm, apart from being annoying to that character and having some fun role playing moments in that,
Hmm.
I'm going to be very loyal to those one or two or even the whole group. And that also kind of shows you there one of my weaknesses. I am younger. I'm not as smart as you would think, and I'm not a good people person. I
Okay.
spent most of my time in the monastery, in the archives, helping people out visiting, but then also just researching Grandmaster Kane. That is my thing, Grandmaster Kane. So I'm not a good people person, but I will talk a lot, which is going to be fun because we're going to be in some like I assume we're going to be in some situations where we're going to need to have a subtle word and negotiate more. But I'm just going to be like, well, Master Kane did this, and I think we should probably do that too. And I'm just going to, talk out of put my foot in my mouth as much as possible.
Sounds great.
um, so
So
that,
I think you've got a good foundation there for strengths and weaknesses and personality, and this may be something that kind of organically answers itself. But what about growth? What things would cause your character to perhaps not be so inflexible in the way he thinks, or maybe change his naivety, or perhaps even even there could even be things that break down some of his idol worship of this Grandmaster Kane. You may not have a quick answer for that. It might be something you just think about as we role play. But those are some things that, if you have some thoughts on, can help. But I always think that keeping an idea on growth means that you can really have a character that feels dynamic instead of one who kind of feels like a one trick pony in a personality. Sometimes people will make a character that, they've got their catchphrase and that's about it.
yeah,
And I found that
type.
to have a, yeah, typecasting, to have a better role playing experience, to think about those concepts of depth. So I don't know if you thought about any yet, or if you wanted to share any of that, or if you're thinking that's a really good point, Hamilcar. I'll think about it.
Well, I've got some general ideas, nothing too specific yet, but definitely, like I mentioned before, this is his first time really outside of the monastery.
Okay.
Um, and being out in the world, even though the Order of the Yellow Rose is very, I mean, the deity they serve is Ilmater, who is the deity of endurance. So they're very much into that kind of idea, and their monastery is in a very harsh place in the mountains. But all that aside, I was the one who stayed in the archives. So I don't have much experience with how harsh the world can actually be. That naivety or naivete, however you want to pronounce it, that you mentioned will definitely be squashed a couple times. I haven't taken a life. I haven't seen a life taken in front of me. And
Mm,
we're all about endurance and martyrdom, but I don't know if I
right.
could actually do that. And I'm saying I right now in first person as the monk.
Right. Right.
Um, I don't know if he could actually follow through with that, even though he's been studying so much. And that's a neat flaw with the personality in the background is
Mm-hmm.
instead of being really devout to either Ilmater or Saint Solars, I'm really devout to Grandmaster Kane. And I think finding something that maybe might not be in my history books, a darker side of Kane or something like that, or showing like Kane had to make some, and this is just coming off the top of my head right now. Kane had to make some tough decisions of, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And those sacrifices that, in my mind, oh no, Kane is flawless. He
Mm,
wouldn't have killed those people. Well, he had to kill those people to save that country. Things like that I think would really twist my view of it. And then, oh gosh, I mean, depending on how bad it gets, it could really demoralize him.
mm.
Um,
Or at least make him see that perhaps Grandmaster Kane is not so perfect and just a person like everyone else.
and then, I mean, that opens up a whole new realm of role playing that you could do there. Of the whole purpose I've spent my whole life is to be like Grandmaster Kane, and now he's just like everyone else. What do I do now?
Right.
You
I like
know,
this a lot. I think there's a lot of space here where you could see the character push down to have some lows, to have some highs, to have some areas of self reliance. Um,
yeah, exactly. In the end, getting to the point where you do rely on yourself, and instead of trying to be Grandmaster Kane, you just, and this really goes back into the monastery, the monk teaching, you really just go into being a better self
mhm.
for yourself. So that's a really neat character arc
Okay.
that we can
Well, the
explore.
last thing that I like to do after someone's kind of gone through this exercise is, and it may not be easy to do because sometimes it's simple, but it takes some thinking. Is I'm kind of stealing this from the Fate system in the Dresden Files game. They use something called a high concept, and I found that it's actually really useful to have a phrase or a few sentences that just kind of describes or encapsulates your character. I don't know if you have any ideas. Just from what you've told me, I've got a few that I've thought of, but I'll go ahead and let you give a shot at if you could say, this phrase is my character, this high concept.
Hmm.
Putting you on the spot here. I know it can be kind of hard
Yes,
sometimes
this
to
is
do
the
this.
this is the tough one that you're stumping me with, and the growth I was able to talk myself into. So, um, hmm. I mean, the character as he is now. Um,
So if you want, I could tell you one of my ideas. So
I was about to say hopeful but naive
okay.
or innocent. I'm not sure.
So one that I was thinking of, and then maybe this will
Mhm.
help a little bit, because a lot of times the high concepts can be kind of humorous if they want. But I was thinking of what would Master Kane do, as kind
Had
of
that
going along with
tattooed
the
on his wrist.
WWJD bracelets back in the '90s. That could kind of if you're having this idol worship, that you'd have a bit of that there.
WWGKD.
Yeah, WWGKD. So that was
I
just
might.
from listening to it. I thought that and the thing is that's really good about the Dresden game that does that but also I believe is that the high concept is not static. It's not like you pick it and it's your character forever. It's more of this is what you are now, and your high concept changes throughout your character, but it's a quick way to just say, this is what my character kind of encapsulates. So I don't know if you liked that one or not. It's just
I did,
something
in
that came
fact.
up. So okay. So
I just typed it in.
what would Grandmaster Kane do?
Yep.
That seems like that would be a
Um,
pretty good high concept. Well,
yeah.
that's the main part for the first segment I wanted to do on looking at really the what I would consider to be the soft side of character development. I think a lot of times people jump right in and start picking out all the stats and the skills and equipment and things like that. But in reality, I think that this pre-work about the motivation, the background, the personality is what really helps people not only have a successful character in the sense of feeling like role playing was fun, but also having fun with the character. You never want to get bored with a character and feel like you're having to drag your feet. And I think a lot of these things are what really bring that depth. So, with that, this is our first part of the segment. And the next part, we'll look at some of the specifics that Ken has chosen for his monk and see how that ties in well with the stuff he's already established with his high concept. All right, thanks, guys.